Good afternoon. So, I'm here with Warren Earth. Check out his channel. Say hello.
What's up, y'all?
What's up? So, yeah, good topic. You know, the most generous are the people who have less.
Hey, I believe that because all these penny pinching ass rich people, these elitist minded motherfuckers,
Yeah.
they just so greedy, they can't comprehend that not everything's about themselves.
Yeah.
I'm just in a shitty mood because of stuff like that right now.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers starving me out. I've been trying my ass off to work and nobody will I can't make somebody let me work. I dare somebody to tell me I need to be fucking working. You're gonna get your fucking teeth knocked out if you say that shit to me.
Yeah, violence doesn't solve anything, but I understand your sentiment.
It does sometimes. It does sometimes.
If it's necessary, yeah. But
I'm just so goddamn sick of being disrespected. It almost makes me want to hurt somebody. Like, I've felt nothing but fucking disrespect since I've been here. Well, except from you, of course, you know.
Yeah,
and a few other little random people, but
yeah, I mean, you know,
as far as this job situation, like, I'm totally
it's
fucking
fucked
through
up.
the roof and stressed out.
I'm with you 100%. Like, I go and submit applications, and when they say entry level, and you may have seen this yourself, entry level really isn't entry level. You know, last time I checked, an entry level is supposed to be no experience, will train. But a lot of the positions I see, you know, you have to have either, you know, a bachelor's degree, some years of experience in whatever. I know, looking back, maybe I should have taken that apprenticeship with the FH for plumbing. You know, I'd be at a pay cut for a short time, but, you know, I could have made money.
Like, sometimes I wonder if all this shit happens for a reason. Sometimes it seems like it happens for a reason. Like, maybe this dude's such a fucking asshole that the universe is trying to pull me away from him. Because he's already shown me that he leans a little more toward trusting the corporate side.
Yeah.
And that has to be a fucking asshole.
Let me just move this over here, and, you know, we're not the only two struggling. You know, that person over there, maybe that person over there.
Well, most of the struggling people are on the other side. There's way more of them over there.
Oh, yeah. You know, like, you know, did you try Walmart?
No, I hadn't tried Walmart, but if you walk through Walmart, I don't think you will see a white person working in the whole store.
That was my point last time we talked.
So yeah. I'm wondering if you can even be white and work in Walmart.
It's like fucking, yeah, they got rid of the DEI, I guess, but they did it in a fucking different way. You know, because every Walmart I've been to here, you know, has foreigners. I mean, you know, personally, if they're working, who cares? But, you know, I personally think we should just stop putting Americans first. You know what I'm saying?
Well, as long as corporations are running the show, that's not going to happen, because that's what's... I don't blame the foreigners for wanting to come here and work, because
me neither.
If you was them, you probably want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But what happens is these elitists at the top of the pyramids, they recruit armies of foreigners, and they'll flood your whole downtown and have your whole profession blackballed because they've destroyed the value of the work by bringing in people that's going to do it for a third of what it's worth.
Oh, yeah.
That happened in my town about 20 years ago.
Oh, shit. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. One of my old jobs, you know, this is when I was working for Trugan. This is back in 2005. Yeah, I started off as a salesman. I didn't like it, couldn't sell. Switched over to production and did that for the rest of the year. And then fucking next spring, I find out they hire a bunch of foreigners and get rid of a whole bunch of slots, you know, except for, like, you know, the licensed technicians.
And then it goes even deeper than that. The government's involved in it too, because the county council and the city council, they were involved in it too. So instead of settling for making $3 million off a project, they want to screw the local crew so they can make 15, 20 million.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong. You know, like in my situation, You know, my last job was government contracting. It was a badging job, which, you know, again, I'm surprised they paid me what they fucking paid me. I felt like I was robbing the place, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, at the end of the day, because, you know, with the fucking hiring freezes and all that with the government, you know, contracts are getting eliminated too. And another company took over the contract that I was on, and they had somebody, you know, already in place to, you know, sit in that seat. So, yep, that's what happened. And, you know, like I said in, you know, some of my other videos, you know, you can agree or disagree, you know, no matter what situation you're in. Do you think, like, sitting on YouTube, like, begging for subscribers, like, how do you feel about doing that?
I ain't gonna beg for no subscribers. I think I told you something similar to that the last time.
Yeah.
Like, this is a truth movement, okay?
Yeah.
We're fighting this war at this point in time through information. If this does not work, it will eventually turn physical.
Oh yeah.
This is why, even if you're not a YouTuber, this is why I started doing YouTube.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs to put themselves in this game and be trying to push back. If you're not doing that, then I'm fucking pissed off at you.
You know?
Fuck who you are, okay? I don't care if you're embarrassed. I don't care if you think you don't know a whole lot. You have to start trying. Because if you ain't doing that, you're a part of the problem.
Right. You know, and I didn't start YouTube either, you know, for the whole, I want to be a YouTuber, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, one of my points I made in some of my other videos, you know, the problem with everybody trying that is it's just going to collapse.
That's kind of what we want it to do. We have to collapse this algorithm, the common algorithm that's got these people trapped in a little bitty fucking box that they can't seem to find their way out of. The algorithm controls so much of people's mind. That's why I'm putting out new information, truthful information, instead of the common narrative is one of the best weapons that we have right now. And if we don't learn to sharpen that and utilize it, we're gonna get fucked physically. That's for the ones that hadn't been already.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, for me, you know, I just don't feel right sitting there begging. I mean, if people like it, subscribe, great, you know. But, you know, I just don't feel right sitting there begging, oh yeah, and then go to this site, you know, that's just not my nature.
There's nothing wrong with promoting your material. That's not the same thing as begging.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Begging is thirsty.
Yep.
Promotion is confident.
Interesting take. Yeah, okay, I'll buy that, you know. As opposed to going on YouTube saying, I can't make my car payment. Please donate to my GoFundMe.
You know what? I'm glad you say that, because I used to subscribe to this. Well, I probably still do subscribe to them, but I ain't gonna say who it is. This girl came on there talking about, oh, I'm losing my home and this and that, and I ain't never done no shit like this. I donated $20 to her. Then like a day or two later, she's posting herself on fucking vacation. Like, what the fuck? Why you even had to show me that shit?
Oh yeah, like a fake scam.
Well, I don't know if somebody. I mean,
that's what it was.
Some rich person might have hooked her up, gave her $10,000. I don't know, but it made me question if I've been lied to.
It's funny you mention that. I had that happen in real life, right? This was when I was up in Mass, still living in Mass, right? You know, I'm a hobby street performer. I might get back into that. You know, I was out, you know, jamming, you know, in the local area, right? Just doing my thing, right? And, you know, a random guy walks up to me, you know, do you have like a few dollars, man? You know, I'm homeless. I'm like, yeah, why not, you know? It actually wasn't even my money because somebody had tipped me, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yeah, a few bucks. And then he goes and does that to other people, and then he's like, tells me, he's like, yeah, I'm actually not home. I'm like, I almost wanted to fucking do something stupid, but I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do something stupid. Karma's going to catch up to him. And, you know, on my way back to my truck, you know, after I fucking became my own roadie with all the 500 pounds of gear, I see him doing the same thing to other patrons coming out of taverns. You know, this was during the early stage of COVID. And I'm like walking by, I'm like, don't listen to this guy. Don't listen to this guy.
And you stand beside him with a sign pointing at him like, don't listen to him.
Well, I didn't have the sign, but I just did it verbally, you know. And, you know, some people thought I was homeless, you know, which I can understand, you know. And I'm like, no, I'm not homeless.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, people around here think all kind of crazy shit about me. I can see it in their face. It's like, if you don't look like some kind of fucking narc or some kind of Donald Trump dick sucker, these motherfuckers don't like you.
You're not wrong.
And they smell funny. I'm gonna just put it out there. People around here, most of these motherfuckers smell the same.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I probably stink. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't had a goddamn shower in so long.
Yeah.
But these motherfuckers all smell like baby powder and cologne. Why you need both?
Either that or
You smell that fucking bad?
Either that or it smell like fucking potpourri and dead fish.
It's a weird smell. It's a combination of a bunch of smells all combined. Like you spraying potpourri down your fucking underwear, then putting baby powders down your shirt, and then fucking dousing the rest with cologne or some shit. It's fucking weird.
I would say what they used to call that back in the days, but I'd probably get banned. You know, it's one of those derogatory term showers. You know, where you put the cologne in as opposed to actually showering.
I think I know what you mean.
Yep. So we'll leave that one
Why
alone.
would you be banned? We've already said worse shit than that.
I know.
As far as they're concerned.
Well, I mean, YouTube is fucking... YouTube,
They are.
They like
really
to
are.
pick and choose.
I don't understand why one person can say something and get their whole channel deleted, then another person can say the same thing forever and just forever.
Facebook was the same way. You know, I don't even use Facebook anymore.
I ain't never used that shit.
Yeah, you're probably smarter than all the rest of us. You know, I initially used it, you know, because it was like, yeah, get on Facebook. I'm like, fuck it, I'll try. You know, and over the years, I wish it didn't take that long, I've learned that I am, like, incapable of having a healthy relationship with social media. And companies look at that shit, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
now
government does, too.
Well, that, too, but private companies look at that. They want to see, I don't care what anybody says. I think it's because they want to see what you look like.
I think, well, probably that, but they just want to know more than they're entitled to know.
Yeah.
Why can't we see what they're fucking doing? They ain't gonna show you their stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I mean, now it's more or less TikTok, because the last time I tried to use Facebook, everybody's using fake names and throwaways. You know, it's like a fucking cat and mouse. You know, I've always been in the thought of look at someone's merit. You know, which, to be fair, Trump is actually right on that one, merit-based. If you have to hire people based on their skills and experience. You know, not because of what they look like, you know?
Yeah, but there's the people that's in charge of these places. It goes like this. Technically, it's illegal to discriminate because of race, right?
Yep.
So if somebody was prejudiced and they say, well, he showed me his resume and he's actually the best candidate, but I just don't like him because he's this or he's that, so I'm going to pretend like he's not qualified enough.
Right. And then
so there's still a gray area that can't no law control.
They're not going to fucking tell you.
They're not going to admit they didn't hire this person because he's black, or if one of these racist black motherfuckers around here won't hire you because you're white.
Or case in point, landscaping companies, you know, they won't hire you because you speak English. You know,
like Walmart.
Yup. Exactly. You know, and you know, and I'm all for people working. Like, you know, the whole like deportation. You know, they're not really going after criminals. They're going after, you know, which again, I don't condone hopping the border illegally, but they're going after the fucking people that, you know, like your grandma or some guy's wife. You know, which that one's actually a bad example, because if you saw the one, it was a guy in Florida whose wife got deported, and he did not seem too upset about it.
He probably set her up.
Well, yeah, I mean, he probably fucking...
But it's like this, though. All these lines in the sand are not really there. That's been conditioned into our mind. If you look at the Earth from space, you don't see, well, America's drawn out here. You don't see that because it's not even real. So it's like this. If you come from somewhere over there, and I say, well, all the food's on this side, so I'm going to draw a line right here, and I'm going to tell you, you can't come here because I want all the fucking food. So just because somebody's telling you that, don't mean you're wrong for trying to get your food, even if you have to cross that line. Because I used to be one of the people protesting illegal immigration.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, we went through this in my town decades ago, and I was out there fucking doing the damn thing. But now I'm looking at it like I don't even care anymore. I'm ready to go start helping them fucking cross, because we've all been screwed by this country. And I will no longer stand against a person for trying to come here because they're hungry when there shouldn't be no lines drawn in the first place.
Yeah.
They're doing that as a mechanism of control.
Yep.
They're making prisons inside of prisons inside of prisons. You can't go here because I say. You can't go there because I've gridlocked you and you can't afford it. They have all these ways they keep us trapped and confined. And case in point, I'm right here and I'm being fucking screwed just because I'm from somewhere else and can't even work.
And that's the fucked up thing, you know. You couldn't establish residence yet. You know, how long have you been here overall?
It's been about 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and you know more about Alexandria than I do, and I've been here for 3 years, so
That's
make
funny.
that shit make sense. You know, but, you know, again, I just get up and go to, well, up until now, get up and go to work, you know? But, you know, and that's like the fucked up thing, you know? And I gotta say, you know, I was mentally prepared that shit like this was gonna go down. You know, luckily, you know, because, you know, my job was in my brother's office, even though he had nothing to do with my contract, for obvious reasons. You know, I was able to get a heads up. So I was like, yep, I'm mentally prepared, you know. And, you know, I got a little stash, you know, so I'm trying to fucking, you know, milk that as much as I can. But still, even if you file unemployment, it is a fucking bitch to get. You know, and bills are due. Like this fucking Santa Cruz. I mean, I got to make a payment on that every month. I hope it doesn't get to the point where I got to let it go, you know?
So my insurance is due right now. Nobody cares. If I lose my fucking car, nobody's gonna care. That they'll just kick me down even harder if that happens.
Man, look at that carriage go. Little side view.
I had to save one like a few weeks ago. It wasn't even my buggy, but I seen what was happening and I ran and saved it.
I saw one that had someone's kid in it. You know, in the fucking, you know, little thing where you put your kid. And they were putting the groceries, and it was like, no lie, 2 inches from hitting a fucking tree. I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with parenting? Oh yeah, sure, something happened to my kid, but I'm rich. You know, but that's another topic for another time. But, you know, like I said, you know, I think the people who have less are likely to be the ones who give the most.
Because they know what it's like to need something.
Yeah. I said this in some of my other...
They know how it feels to not be treated like you're entitled to the fucking kingdom.
And I'm not sure if I told you this. I know I mentioned it in one of my other videos. You know, when I first moved down here, you know, I was living in, you know, I was staying at my brother's place. You know, just to kind of use that as like a launch pad. One of those things, right? You know, find some locals. One of them happens to be, you know, a homeless woman, right? You know, I introduce myself, all that crap. You know, we all chat. And, you know, one time she asked me for help with food. I'm like, no problem. Because one, I've needed help with food. You know, it had nothing to do with the fact that she's female. I've needed help with food too. And hell, some of the people who helped me were females. You know, who had no interest in fucking me, so that's sort of like a pay it forward kind of deal, you know?
I don't think it's natural to just have no care for other people. This has been a product of our conditioning.
I think it's been made worse by the digital age.
Because that gives the conditioners even more control to condition.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this topic, but I'll throw a snippet out there. A lot of it is, women didn't like men approaching them. Ew, get away, you creep. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a whole nother topic in of itself. I'm not gonna really.
Yeah, there's a lot of them around here, like especially in this area. These motherfuckers are so goddamn scared around here.
Mm-hmm.
If you that goddamn scared, you need to learn to use a gun, bitch. This is every day. This is about twice per hour.
You know what I think?
And then next you'll end up seeing an ambulance, and then next you'll end up seeing the police. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but
Yep.
this is every day.
Well, you know what I think? I think if traffic is blocking a fire entrance,